So the question that I decided to tackle was how can we leverage emerging tools like generative AI, our robot friends, like Marie said, to innovate our learning content while ensuring it remains accessible and inclusive for a diverse global audience. I know it's a mouthful, it's a brainful, but I think about this a lot. There's a lot of text on this slide, and if a lot of text stresses you out, I invite you to minimize or close your eyes and just follow me as we kind of work through everything that I've kind of considered here. So, when thinking about tools, I'm going to use generative AI, but it can be any of these future tools that are kind of on the emerging horizon. There's really this dual challenge of embracing the innovation, but also maintaining accessibility and maintaining iterative processes that are easy to do by smaller and smaller teams. You know, that resource constraint is a big consideration to have. And generative AI overall, it has a growing role in content development. As much as I would love to just plug my ears and not think about it, it's definitely something that we have to think about how we implement thoughtfully, practically, and in a way that still helps us maintain content accessibility. So some of the opportunities offered by these future tools, by generative AI, efficiency, it's a shorter timeline to delivery and that faster development cycle, a more iterative design that can take place more efficiently as well. There's customization, really creating personalized learning experiences based on the learner needs, like Lori talked about earlier, really creating something that is personal to the learner. Innovation, so being able to have access to tools, maybe instructional designers wouldn't have otherwise had. Using a tool like Powtoon to build an animation when you don't have an animator on staff, well, it can fill a need in a lot of ways that instructional designers of the past wouldn't necessarily have had the capability, tools, or knowledge to do so. Um, and finally, the last opportunity is that global reach. So, using generative AI tools, adaptive tools, it can really assist with translations and also other cultural localizations as well, but ensuring a way to roll out content to a wider audience and ensuring that your content is, reachable and readable by all. What are some of the accessibility challenges here? Well, the first one, generative AI is trained on a certain set of data, a certain set of content. And as can happen, there are a lot of biases that come out in these AI outputs. So it may inadvertently, accidentally reflect some of these biases on the content that gets built. There are some usability barriers, so interfaces may not be easy to navigate for designers. They may be reliant on more code building, which is less user-friendly and less WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get in a lot of these tools. And the final challenge to touch on here is resource inequity. So over-reliance on tech may really disadvantage learners who are low tech or they're resource limited. They don't have access to the internet necessarily. So, what are some best practices to kind of help us navigate? These are great, cool, exciting new tools and still maintaining accessibility. Well, it's using accessible design first, that universal design principle, and really thinking about your minimum viable product, your MVP, and how it pertains to content creation when you design with accessibility in mind first. Also, performing AI audits, so reviewing generated content for bias, for accessibility compliance. Working in a collaborative way, developing collaboratively, not just trusting the machine, our robot friends, but having human eyes take a look at the content you're developing and ensuring that inclusivity and accessibility. Another option is to offer alternatives to some of these more high-tech solutions, whether it's transcripts, captions, screen reader-friendly outputs. It's other ways to include those who may not have access to the brand newest tools and their various outputs. And another best practice is feedback loops. So gathering learner input, refining the AI-driven experience, and really have a way to address those accessibility gaps with a shorter timeline to collect and apply feedback. So really focusing on the iterative. I think the one last best practice is holding your organizations responsible for high adherence to accessibility standards. That means all of you and me too, and really encouraging collaboration among all of us to share best practices, to share lessons learned, and to really ensure that the content we put out, the teams that we manage, and the content they put out really adheres to those accessibility standards.